disciplining the grandkids when I'm babysitting, should it be my rules or the parents' rules? Okay, it has to be the parents' rules, except in as much as it impacts you. So you get to have your own rules about how you're spoken to, about what you're willing to prepare. If you're making dinner and you don't want them to eat beforehand, you can negotiate with them. You can set your own rules when it impacts you. But the family rules, and I suspect part of the problem is that the kids are saying, but mom lets me do blah, 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 and dad lets me do blah, blah, blah. So just like the previous question, grandparents need to be really clear on what the family rules are and what the bends, where the bending is allowed. I mean, you're supposed to bend, right? And I always used my parents still to this day to create more freedom let's see, how can I say this? So my child got to have some freedoms and some spoiling that I even knew about, but I didn't have to endorse it because, that was grand. I use Santa that way too. Santa can get your children gifts that you might not actually approve of, but you want to let them have a little bit of, I don't know, whatever it is, electronics or candy or I don't know, a limited amount of something that you don't really want to back down on your standards, but you want them to be able to have access to it now and then. So it has to be the parents' rules, but it's really, really important that everybody knows what the rules are. So anytime you have a question, grandparent, write it down and talk to the parents and get really clear on what's appropriate and what your limits are. And you can even tell them that, for example, you don't want R movies on in the house, and you don't want violence, and you don't want to see any nudity on the TV. This is something that came up at my aunt's house in Hawaii many, many years ago. And all the adults were uncomfortable with what was happening on the TV, but nobody said anything. And because it wasn't their child. So you get to set the rules. And I really recommend that you get the parents, grandparents and parents get together and become each other's, what's that word? Mole. Become each other's collaborator and stand up for each other.